I just love LA. I just had a really cool week working in Los Angeles, and I remember why I love LA so much. You know, it's funny. You know, you take a lot of what LA has to offer for granted, because it's the dirtball ghetto, right? It's cheap, fast schedules, tiny budgets. They're always asking for the fucking moon. You're bringing in your own equipment. You're working long hours. It's kind of thankless. Oftentimes it's not prestigious. And you're like, oh great, this is going on YouTube. And it's for Mattel or whatever the fuck. And it's not Netflix. It's not getting wide distribution. It's not a focus feature. It's not a A24 fucking release. It's not. You're not working at the top of your game. It's like it's the ghetto. And so if that's all you do, you get bitter, right? You get bitter, and because you feel like you have this unfulfilled potential, and you're looking out into the panorama of people making, these exquisite, well-funded Swiss watches. You're seeing the Rolls Royce get unveiled in movie after movie. Some Leica movie or some Aardman movie or some Wes Anderson movie will come out, and you're in the ghetto going, God, if only we had real rigging or exquisite armatures or well-designed puppets that were functional, or if only I had time to shoot a pop through, or the director was actually asking me to do something special in this performance and not just fulfill A, B, and C. If only, and you get down on your hands and knees in front of your bed and you squeeze your little fingers together and you pray to the stop motion gods, and you're like, I just want to work on a real feature just once. And that's a really common story, because LA is sort of like the breeding ground for straight out of college, young first-time animators. They do the rounds. They go to Apartment D or Screen Novelties or Stupid Buddy or Starburns or whatever, and they do their little thing down here, their little tap dance. And right now Concrete Media happens to be like the flavor of the month, because that's where the work is. And honestly, they're underbidding all the other studios, and it's sort of a race to the bottom. Who can do it cheaper? Who can do it faster? And this is where stop motion thrives, because producers around Los Angeles go, hey, we can probably shoot stop motion and not destroy our budget. But it leaves all us stop motion animators wanting the bigger brass ring. We're coveting what our, neighbors to the north have. The grass is always greener the farther north you go. And for the West Coast stop-mo scene, Portland is the scene. You've got your Guillermos and your whatevers. Your Travis Knight, your special, well-funded, it's you sign a stack of NDAs and you get a real talking to when you make any decision. But you can, if you were to just live and die in LA, you could die, never getting a taste of that. You could probably die a bitter old man. But I got my taste. I went up. I worked on Coraline, which to me, I've done other feature work, but to me that was sort of like the creme de la creme of what the feature work experience that I've had. And I got a little taste of, really good armatures, really good rigging, pop throughs, working with the camera crew to really choreograph a move, shooting tests, getting all that out of my system, working on ones, having, high stakes one-on-ones with a director that's, like, don't fuck my movie up kind of pressure, having, like the veins popping out of the 80s forehead as he's like, whatever, $100,000 to $1,000 over budget or whatever. And that, jumping through the flaming hoops on a high stakes movie feels special. But at the same time, it's the kind of experience that I was able to sort of about face and come back to Los Angeles and go, wow, I can experience LA with new eyes. I got a taste of what that working at that caliber feels like. And I got it out of my system. I enjoy it, sometimes. But, I actually realized that, like, this is fucking tough down here. The animators that come out of LA are badass. They're scrappy. They're not prima donnas. They're like hard, salt of the earth, hardcore fucking real deal. They make shit happen immediately. Hey, I need this chick to slurp noodles. And as this, ghostly apparition rises out of the floor. Oh, okay, I'm going to animate a practical light for the ghost. I'm going to wax noodles on the girl's face as she's like slobbering over with chopsticks, slurping. I'm going to figure out how to rig this in such a way that it's cheap to paint rods out. Like, I'm not going to bone anyone. You're fulfilling all of these pretty big asks without any hesitation, and that's just one of probably 3 shots you're going to bang out in a day. So it's a whole, you're like pumping frames out of a fucking fire hose rather than this timid, like over-engineered, like exercise in, attempting perfection. And I think both are super valid, and both are very satisfying in their own way. And some animators discover that they hate television, and all they want to do with their entire career is work at the tippy top on one's level. And I totally know those people, and I know and I get it. But for me, I'm like, having having tasted both styles, and I'm just like, I need to work. I need to make my rent. I need to stay vital. And LA is a bigger town with, more shots at the fucking hoop. I don't expect to step up to the plate and bat, 800. I like, batting 250 and getting on base occasionally. It's like we were all really, really hoping that stop motion features would be commonplace down here, because there's a deep well of talent. There are some mainstays down here that are super badass, and it would be nice to see that pendulum swing our way, but it's just not it's not happening. It doesn't seem like the trend. I think LA can be, in a lot of respects, be prohibitively expensive to sort of maintain the kind of size operation that you see up north. I think that's probably changing. Portland's been the flavor of the month for going on, how many decades? At least 2. It's a postage stamp. Last time I was up there, rents were higher than LA in some neighborhoods, just because there's just too many people, not enough places to fucking park your car. And LA doesn't suffer that problem. It's ginormous fucking 8-lane freeways. The neighborhoods have been fucking parked on with cars stacking to the fucking ceiling for fucking decades, nearly a century. It's a user-friendly, industrial strength fucking ginormous city. So, you can kind of get lost in how expansive it is. There's plenty of room for, tolerating a whole gaggle of different flavored humans. It's not, there's no monoculture happening. There's little tastes of it from neighborhood to neighborhood, but at the end of the day, it's like you got so many just juicy, beautiful varieties of humans that are like every subculture you can imagine, every kind of food you can imagine, every kind of, it's a little annoying that it's car culture and you kind of have to have a car, you have to have car insurance, you have to have you're not going to get around on the subway here. You're not going to jump on a trolley or fucking catch a conveniently timed bus, and get away with a fucking free transfer, skip to Malou on over across town. No, it's a car town, and that's the fact. But if you make an effort, it's beautiful here. You gotta make the effort, though. You gotta make your way out to the beach, or you gotta make your way up into the woods. You gotta make your way, you gotta fucking drive to the pretty locations. But once you find your little slice of dirt, or your favorite tree-lined stroll, or your bohemian coffee joint that you like to ride in, you're set. It's a beautiful fucking place to maintain. I've been able to maintain a stop motion career here for decades. You know, I'm raising a child here. You know, me and Liz are freelance artists with a 10-year-old that rent. And, you know, we're not rich. We're not homeowners. We're not, you know, prepping for fucking retirement or anything. We're happy as far as just keeping that vitality. But you gotta have perspective. And I'm really glad I went up north, and I'm really glad I got a taste of you know, high quality stop motion. And Coraline was kind of Paleolithic compared to some of the newer shit that's happening. You know. But it's all trends, and it's all movement, and it's all performance. And you know, you can learn a lot of bad habits going too fast, and but it's you know, everybody's really lubricated here. You know, that we're using our muscles all the time. You know, it's not like these, you know, big 2-year periods where there's no work. You know, my phone rings. You know, I'm 54 years old. I'm still chopping it up with, you know, the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings. And I'll occasionally get on a gig where I see another Gen Xer. You know, I'm working this week. I worked with Jeffy G, Pete, and Ethan Merrick, Pete Levin, and Jeff Gardner. You know, who are all kind of my generation. You know, like we were making shit in the 90s together and early 2000s. So, you know, it's like there's a whole cornucopia of interesting, vital, inventive. It's like the talent is deep, and I don't think we get credit. You know, LA gets kicked in the nuts all day long, but we're used to it. You know, I mean, when somebody says, "Oh, fucking people in LA are so fake," it doesn't offend me. Am I gonna like argue with that? No. I just kind of nod and smile. I'm like, yeah, there's plenty of fake people here. It's in the eye of the beholder. You know? Keep kicking. Keep fucking there's nothing to hurt. You know, the balls in LA have a big callus around them. So, kick all you fucking want. It doesn't, there's no harm, no foul. But I dig it, you know, and I'm not trying to like make a case to sort of like convince other people of loving LA. No, the last thing I want to do is convince you to love. I love it when people leave LA. Not for, competitive personal, like I want them to leave. No, I'm just like, this is great. If this is like an incubation, this is where you can kind of like learn some industry standard stuff and then graduate to the next place. That's cool. I mean, there's animators that were down here for like 3 years and surpassed me in skill straight out of college. Like, I look at Joe Heinen or Dan McKenzie or, Tucker Berry or, some of these cats that just were like newbies. Fucking newbies 1 minute and then blew doors on my shit like in a year and a half. And it was like, wow. I was like, a seasoned senior level animator. And then suddenly they were like, let me show you how it's done, you old fart. And I'm like, cool. Good. Good. You guys should be graduating. You guys should be challenging yourself. You guys should be doing stuff that's like way more advanced. And then there's cats like me. I love finding that fucking sixth gear in my, shifting this into sixth when I'm just like, I think I did nearly 300 frames today. I polished up a hot set in the morning. I got launched pretty immediately and then jammed out like 2 more shots. And and it all cuts nice. It's all like gets a laugh. It tells the story. I'm not insanely proud of all of it, but that's not the point. It's okay, like this week I did a shot where I had to get the character in and making soup, like grab the pan, take the lid off, pour 2 bowls of stuff, like stir it, pour it into a bowl, it was like an insane amount of action on twos in like, I can't even remember how many frames it was. It was under 200. It was like a, 4 or 5 second shot. And it's a challenge. It's a fun challenge, I'm learning something new I've been doing this fucking shit for 34 years. Professionally, and then if you add like how long I've been fucking doing it as an amateur, it's like pushing 40 years. And I fucking longer. I was making Super 8 films when I was a kid, like a young kid. So, probably 48 years of animating puppets, action figures, toys, you name it, stuffed animals, whatever, clay, paper. And I still, to this day, learn something new every single shot I'm on. I try a little finesse it a little different here or there to bring more vitality, interest to my work. And I'm not the fucking best animator in the room. I never am. But apparently I do whatever I do well enough that I constantly get, my phone is constantly ringing. And I'm on really, really interesting projects. You know, I'm juggling 4 things right now. I'm directing a music video. In the last 3 weeks, I've worked on 4 different commercials and a series on Netflix. And then I'm going to do the opening credits sequence of a TV show next week. I mean, come on, y'all. What the fuck are you guys doing? What are you doing? You know, what are you cats doing in the Bay Area? What are you cats doing up in Portland? Are you waiting for fucking Guillermo to tell you have a job? Are you juggling 5 different gigs? You know, I'm not trying to, gloat or boast. I'm just saying, man, it's like, it's nice to be able to chop it up at my age and keep it alive, keep the balls in the air, keep my fucking rent paid. It's nice. I feel very fortunate and very lucky. And I dig LA. I like the scene. I like that it's not pinky out fancy. You know? It's feels like responsible filmmaking when your work responds to the economy. It's in direct response to exactly where the economy is. And I think that's LA. Okay, I'm home. That's all. Peace.